Dricus du Plessis does not owe Sean Strickland anything. His win over Sean Strickland not only took place, it was very clear. The only weird thing about that outcome is that it was a split decision and one judge favored Sean. That is a summary of a quote by Dricus du Plessis himself. I thought it was very interesting. He says, I don't owe Sean Strickland anything. Okay, that's where he jumped in. So he's kind of jumped in on second base. And we as the audience have to understand how we got off home plate. But my interpretation is pretty simple, which is Sean is saying you owe me. Fans are saying you owe him. And the reasoning for that is I gave you an opportunity. You weren't supposed to be the guy. I gave you an opportunity. And if you're in Sean's spot, it's a little stronger argument than if anyone else says it. I mean, in all truth, because Dricus wasn't option one. He wasn't even option two. He was option three. That was not the one. That was not what he was visualizing. I'm talking about Strickland here. That's not what he was planning to do. I'm talking about Strickland here. He took some risk. He didn't get to do it at home. He had to get on a plane and go to a different country. And he gives an opportunity to a guy that got the jump on him. Sean disagreed with the outcome. One judge shot Sean's way. There's at least enough controversy. Let's do this again. Okay. Now, I just described a whole bunch of fights for you. Like that same thing has happened in a whole bunch of fights. And Sean's not saying you legally owe me, but he's talking about sportsmanship. He's talking about ethics. He's talking about, look, we got a deal in the locker room. And if you got your 15 minutes in the sun, you owe those 15 minutes to me. You owe me the same thing that I did for you, which is to give me an opportunity. And Dricus is saying no. And Dricus isn't saying I refuse to fight Sean or I don't want to fight Sean. He's just saying I don't owe you. Our slate is clear. And to remind you of that time frame, Dricus du Plessis beats Robert Whittaker. Huge upset. Dricus du Plessis becomes number one contender to take on Adesanya. Dricus du Plessis does not accept that fight. Sean Strickland, who's ranked number 6, they hadn't gone out of the top 5 for a world title fight in a meaningful period of time. They did it for this one. The clock's ticking. They're running out of time. Get Strickland, get him the Crocodile Dundee hat, and get him to Australia. Check, check, and check. But the fourth was to be get him beaten up. Get rid of him. Get him out of here. He makes us nervous on a mic anyway. That's the part that went awry. Not only did Sean not get beaten up, not only did Sean not get beat, he didn't lose a round. And he didn't do it by following the blueprint that so many of us believed, which is take him down, control him, ground and pound. GSP 101, he did not do that. He stood with him. It was a really big surprise. It was such a surprise, the performance, which led to the outcome, but it was the performance. It was such a surprise that we, the audience, said, do it again. And a mythical line was created. A mythical betting line was created by my partners, DraftKings. And guess what it said? It said that Izzy is a 2.5 to 1 favorite. Dana was going in that direction. That was the rematch that Dana wanted. And Izzy pumped the brakes. Did not do it. In the meanwhile of all of this unfolding, another fight takes place on short notice between two studs, one of which is undefeated named Khamzat Chimaev, and the other of which is a future Hall of Famer named Kamaru Usman. That gets named the number 1 contenders match. Chimaev won. Sean Strickland immediately went into preparation for Chimaev. He knew him well. That wasn't the fight Strickland wanted. He didn't have a beef there. That was his friend. But he was going to accept the rules. He was going to honor the outcome. And he planned to fight Chimaev. He went to the media. He didn't manufacture anything. Pretty straightforward. This is a hard fight. I know what to get ready for. This is after it gets revealed. He thinks he's going to fight Izzy. So he comes off of that ride. He jumps onto the Chimaev train. That gets pulled. Let's go back to a guy that was a number 1 contender in DDP to get this over with. So real fight that they want is Strickland versus Izzy or DDP versus Izzy. They both worked. In the company's mind, those both work. And I mean in a massive way, like a headlining spot at UFC 300. So let's have these two fight. We'll have Izzy waiting. And this is essentially the argument that both guys are making, and both guys are telling it the same way. DDP is just saying, I don't owe you something for that. I had become a number one contender. I was supposed to fight Izzy. That's the fight you got. You got that fight because I let you have it. It doesn't matter how or why. It doesn't matter if I didn't feel good, I don't want to travel, I thought it was too soon. It doesn't matter. It was my spot. I stepped out, which created the opportunity for you. So when I got in there and fought you in Canada, that wasn't home field advantage for me. That was a neutral territory, and I only showed up to fight so that you could get a paycheck and, by the way, put yourself in a position to possibly draw into Izzy. I did that for you. That's Dricus' argument. What do you guys think? I don't hate it. It's very rare, right? There's an expression in life. There's three sides to every story. Your side, their side, and the truth. And generally speaking, like, that's a really good adage. Generally speaking, we can all relate to that, can't we? It's a rare thing when both sides tell the exact same story. But at the other end, the computer spits out a different answer. It's an interesting thing. I don't know as much as I want Sean to get the title fight. And I do think Sean is the right guy. I didn't love when Dricus beat him and that we started just moving in the Izzy direction. I would have felt better on a personal level if we could have moved in the Izzy direction in conjunction with the Sean rematch direction. Send it out to the people and let you guys decide. That's generally what we do. We understand that we have a business to run here. We understand there's politics behind it. It's okay. But that is generally what the recipe is. I did that on my own YouTube page. I was stunned when Sean won. Sean won the poll that we did 70% to 30% over Izzy. For who would you rather see DDP defend against first? Sean in a rematch or Izzy? I was very surprised by those numbers. But I still got to tell you that that was the numbers. So, neither guy is wrong here, but it is a very compelling thing when you start to appeal to somebody in that regard. Generally in the fight game, prize fighters, you just appeal to the prize. Here's the money. Here's what you're going to get to do this idea that we are willing to bet on. Generally, that's the thing. It's very rare when a fighter will come to another fighter on a human level and say, bro, whether we shook hands on it or not, whether we had an agreement ahead of time or not, I did something for you and you owe me. I'm here to collect. And the other guy says, you did do all of those things, but they weren't for me. They were for you, and our slate is clear. It's an interesting argument, and it's one that's very important that you win. I mean, if the people come out and they deem that Dricus is not honorable, that Dricus broke a code of martial arts, if they do that, it will be very damning. But I don't think he did. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think as long as Dricus agrees to fight, the name that gets said on the other end of the phone, I feel that Dricus' hands are clean here. Please leave me a comment below. I want to know what you think.